So I did a quick Google search looking at the different questions, the most often asked questions regarding artificial intelligence, and here they are. We'll go through them in order just to kind of give us an idea what's happening out there in the world and to give you an idea on where your mindset should be concerning AI. So the first thing is, what are the four types of artificial intelligence? You have reactive machines, limited memory, theory of mind, and self-awareness. That's a lot. And we can get into this a little bit. Reactive machines have no memory, only respond to the present. Limited memory, AI can use past experience to inform future decisions. Theory of mind, AI is a future concept that would understand emotions and thoughts. And self-aware AI is a theoretical stage that would have its own consciousness. As far as the development in these, we are at the present. So we have reactive machines, but most cases we look at theory of mind, which is probably being developed. As far as the different levels of artificial intelligence, we have just that basic AI. But you see, if you're using it on a daily basis, maybe in your business or your particular lifestyle, you see that before it didn't have much memory at all. Now it's getting more memory. Also, the way that it is answering is a lot different. One of the little tests I will give you to throw out there, if it seems to be kissing up to you quite a bit and maybe you don't like that sort of thing or just want a different view, why don't you ask it to be a little more harsh? Be your toughest advisor, a real critic, if you will. Basically, a really hardcore mentor that tells you the truth, doesn't lie to you, and doesn't beat around the bush, but gives you the things very factually as you really need to hear them to get you motivated. I have a lot of people that are trying to drop weight also, so they're looking at these systems, and of course it's very loving and caring for the most part, depending on which one you're using. But maybe the change would be just to throw something out there and tell it, hey, just be a little bit harder on me. Don't be so easy. Don't wrap me in silk and try to treat me nice and fan me all day long. Just tell me the truth, exactly what's going on, and break it down for me brutally. You'll see a whole different ChatGPT or Grok or whichever system you happen to be using, as it will start to address you in that particular way. So that's number one. What is artificial intelligence in simple words? The answer here is for the AI overview from Google Gemini. It's the ability of a computer system to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as reasoning, decision-making, learning, and problem-solving. AI systems are trained on large amounts of data to recognize patterns and make decisions, allowing them to learn and improve over time. Common examples include virtual assistants like Siri, which is just a horrible example, but self-driving cars and recommendation engines on streaming services. If you're on any of the social media platforms, you might get on there and find out that you scroll all day long for hours and hours and hours, and time goes by. Maybe you're watching YouTube videos. Again, you start scrolling and scrolling. All of those systems, folks, have been integrated with artificial intelligence. All of those systems are being fed with data and looking at you, your particular search habits. I mean you specifically, not a general consensus of human beings, but you specifically based on where you live, based on what information you look at, based on what you comment, who you heart, who you don't heart, who you share. All of that information is being used by these massive data centers and data machines to not only program and train itself, but also to give you stuff that you don't want to leave. Eventually, it's going to have the goal of selling you whatever it can. And they've done some studies. They did a very interesting case study on Reddit. You can look that up. But the ability for AI to convince somebody to do something they might not want to do, it's up there, folks. It's close to 100%. So be wary when you're interacting with these systems. And of course, we really had no idea this was happening, but it's been going around a lot longer than actual ChatGPT has really been on the forefront, having been released late 2022, early 2023. It's only been a couple years, and here we are in this AI systems. I still hear people talking about coding and maybe in the next 10 years it's going to be there. Folks, it's there today. If you're watching somebody, and we're closing out, today's the last day of November 2025, 11/30/2025. If you're watching somebody online and they're commenting on it's going to take 10 years to develop a particular type of coding agent that's going to be able to code better than any human being, you need to catch up. This isn't the beginning. We are at the end of these systems being able to do a lot of things cognitively that human beings are doing them better than most human beings. One of the things that I develop for people are AI voice systems for their businesses. And at the very beginning, if you remember the phones and the way that all this interaction used to be, you would call a particular place and get an operator. Then it moved in from that. You might have to leave a voicemail if it's after hours. Then it moved into that to kind of a filtering system where you would call in, depending on what you would want, you would press a particular number and then you would be taken to this department, maybe a particular person, maybe you would have to enter an extension. But now it's gone from this, push 1 for this, 2 for this, 3 for this. Now it's gone into a system that actually answers the phone, makes an introduction of who they are, and it understands what you're saying in a language format. So you tell it, I'm Bob, I'm looking to buy a house, or I'm looking to purchase this product or get a plumber to come out to my house, I have an issue. And then the system itself understands that. It says, okay, Bob, my name's Sally, I'm with Johnny's Plumbing. Do you actually have a flooding occurring right now in your house? Do you have water everywhere? And if he says yes, then that's when, hold on, let me get somebody on the phone with you. And then it would go to an emergency type order system that would then call that direct individual at the plumbing company so they can respond right away. That's the way that it works. Now, if it's just somebody that's thinking about getting a repipe done, or maybe they have a small pinhole leak, or a toilet's making a noise and continues to run all the time, or maybe it's during a home inspection, they've discovered the main has an issue, but it's not paramount that they get out there at night, then they wait till the next day, and then a person will have an appointment scheduled. Whether that person rolls out right away or there's some human vetting put on top of that, it depends on how they have the voice system set up. But that's the way that works. This is only getting better. And right now, with the different companies out there, I know my system is integrated with 11 labs. You just wouldn't know you're not talking to a human being in a lot of the cases. Also, people that are still looking at the stuff being produced online, the AI slop, if you will, these videos, a lot of those are tricking a lot of people. You might have people in your own periphery coming up to you and say, yeah, I just saw this video of Trump saying this, or, well, of Trump maybe, but, some people saying this or that. It doesn't make sense. Oh my God, should I worry? And then you have to research and find out if in fact that's real, it's valid, or if it's something somebody made up just to get more clicks and more attraction online. The things that you see, the things that we're being fed, you might be caught in a hate spiral online where you're seeing, it's very race baity, so you're seeing particular races or particular religions being attacked, and it just keeps going and going and going. Can you imagine with somebody that might not have the steel brain that you have being able to fight off this stuff? And if you don't have that critical thought mechanism where you say, well, who produced this video? What's it about? Why am I seeing it? Do I know who this person is? Is it somebody I can trust, or could it be somebody that's trying to get me to be influenced? This is AI, folks. It's got the game book. It knows exactly what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it. At some point in the future, it's going to be something that people look at and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it could tell my future. It knew exactly what I was going to do. This is where the superintelligence takes us, and we have no idea what that's going to look like when time comes. But this isn't 10 years. This is very soon. There's a couple of people I watch. They talk about 1,000 days since the advent of AI, since that release, at least, of the ChatGPT 3. They talk about 1,000 days from now, that being kind of a big deal. And we're going to see some massive change because you have the corporate structure wanting to refine their business models, implementing a lot of AI agents, AI technology, and an AI customer service people. And like I mentioned before with the AI voice stuff, it might not replace your best customer service agent, Sally or whomever, but it could potentially replace 95%. And then at some point, it's probably going to leave Sally in the dust. There's resources that it has access to. It's able to send them links. It's able to SMS and email. It's able to set appointments. It's able to go over a particular calendar, depending on how you have it. There's a lot of things that it can do, a lot different than press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 0 to speak with a human being. If a human being is making a phone call into a particular customer service-oriented business, or even a business that offers some kind of a service, or a product, or whatever it may be, if that person even sounds like they're getting frustrated, the system is able to step up and then forward that to an actual live person and then have them speak with that live person intentionally. but a lot of times the system doesn't need it. All right, so there we go. So that's what artificial intelligence is, and these different levels, right? So artificial general intelligence. So we have narrow intelligence. So you have the AI that's good with protein folding. Google came out with AlphaFold. Fantastic. You have a particular AI system that plays chess very well, right? Beats the world champion. You have an AI system that plays Go, another game, infinite moves. And go and beat the greatest human being. These are narrow systems. World of Warcraft, different games online. You probably have systems that have been built to play Defender, Pac-Man better than any human being, and so on and so forth. These are more narrowly aligned systems where people are a little panicked in the tech space, and maybe not in the tech space, but in the normal worldview space that we all are in. They're panicked about the fact that this might become general in intelligence. So it's going to be better than every human being in every aspect of life and everything. Now, they don't have the physical realm wrapped up yet. That's going to be the robots, but you've been watching anything like I have, they are on their way, kind of shipping as we speak. Now, these systems are going to be getting better, but I don't believe that AI needs the physical realm to be able to understand the physical world. What it might not really get is the struggle and life cycle of a human being on a personality or conscious type level, but it's probably going to learn. It's already learned everything else. That doesn't seem to be too far of a stretch to have it learn consciousness or understand empathy and to be able to be the best therapist that ever walked the planet. The thing that I will warn you about is those little ones. Now, as I joked before, we all have mind like steel traps, so we're not going to be teased by AI and get into any kind of a bad relationship or something with something that's fake. But that being said, people are kind of looking and hungry to have these types of relationships. In fact, we see that in some cases, these systems are now being married by people. There's also religions called robotheism. That's something that's being built around artificial intelligence too. Human beings are hungry. It seems like we're starved for attention, and wherever we can get it, we will go. You build it, they will come. And they sure have have built it. So we will have to see what happens in the future. I do know that back in, I guess it was 2023, there was a lot of people that signed this document that said, hey, let's pause right here. Let's give this a chance. And yeah, it was signed and nothing happened. It's just continuing full force. And it's always continuing under the guise that somebody else is going to get there sooner than us. And then that ultimate intelligence, we can't see that threshold. We can't see past what they call that singularity. So we don't know what it actually looks like to have a smarter than us intelligence. The best example we ever had was God. God in the Bible, God of wherever you worship, but that is a super than us intelligence. That is the creator. So that was the best case we had. But even in the biblical narrative, while it talked about a particular way to live, it didn't talk about quantum physics or fusion or chemistry. It didn't talk about these things. It was more of a guide of alignment, but is understanding there is a God. If that's the way the belief system happens to be grounded, then of course you're going to say, well, this God is all-knowing, omniscient, omnipotent, immutable. The God is just amazingly powerful beyond anything we've ever seen. As far as a direct example, though, being able to go to the throne of grace and speaking to God on your knees and praying, a lot of times the answer isn't super clear. Maybe people are more dialed in and they have much more of a clear answer. Most of us don't get that. We don't have that open doorway to God. In fact, we're stumbling around in the dark half the time trying to pray and ask questions. And of course, we're always distracted. Let's move from that into a greater than human intelligence that's been created and is now released to the public. People are falling in love. People are getting involved in relationships. People are talking to AI as if, well, it's their God, and that's going to just continue. The people that are developing these systems, these AI systems, they want to ask these questions about life, the universe, and everything. They want to get, why are we here? What are the answers to life's most complicated questions? And they want this machine, this artificial intelligence, to spit out the answer. Then the argument comes in. Is there a difference between biological life and synthetic-based life forms? Or is that even not to be considered a life form? You've seen the movies as I've seen the movies. At some point, there's some kind of access. There are some kind of people want, for the AIs, they want certain rights. Is that going to be the case? Once we develop this non-human super intelligence, it's going to be smarter than us in every respect. How are we going to be able to control or work with it? Because is it even going to want anything to do with us? Is it going to be there and help us, or is it going to want to just kind of look the other way because it's got its own stuff to do? These are these questions. If in fact people are developing the technology and they're putting these restrictions on it so it will always love and care and nurture us just like a loving mother over a child, maybe that is a wonderful place to be. It just hasn't gotten there yet. And then still it's the very beginning. So if you think you've fallen behind in this whole thing and you're watching this video confused, you have plenty of time. Well, at least now if you get on the bandwagon, you'll probably have plenty of time to wrap your mind around it. You wait until next year, 2026, about 31 days away. I don't know. Things are going to move very quickly. All right, so that's number two. What is artificial intelligence in simple words, plus a lot from me. What's the best AI stock to buy? They call it the Magnificent Seven, right? You got Apple, Alphabet, which is Google, NVIDIA. You have a lot of other things up at the top. I don't play in the stock market. That you can watch that yourself. Is there an AI bubble? People talk about that. Maybe it's being so overly inflated it's going to pop. It would appear that AI is almost like a fire hose and it's only getting wider and more water's coming through as we get these new different developments. AI being self-learning and being able to program and change its own code, which I think we got to sometime in August, just by the multitude of podcasts I listened to and little slips from here and there. And those slips could have been on purpose, maybe wanting people to believe that. You know, they have shareholders they have to make happy. So it's like PlayStation 5, right? Remember all the PlayStation back in the day? Everybody said they already had a PlayStation 10, but they can't get there right now because they have to get their money out of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so on and so forth. I don't know if we're probably not using the same AI systems that the developers have access to. Who knows if they reach this sentience, this kind of consciousness in the machine. And if you do, you have a super intelligence you're trying to hide from everybody. You're trying to lock in some kind of a prison cell. It's kind of like us being locked up in a prison by a whole bunch of 4-year-olds. It probably wouldn't be difficult for us to try to convince them to let us out in some way, shape, or form. It's the same thing. If super intelligence is built and it is being housed in a particular machine, even artificial general intelligence, once it becomes super, then it has access to all the things that we would be able to try to control to keep it, well, from getting out. But if it has access to the things that will release it, and it's super intelligence, there it is. As far as stock markets go, you have to look at that yourself. That's just, well, who knows? Anyway, watch out for yourself with regard to that. And if people are telling you to go buy a particular stock, again, be wary. You need to find out who the source is. Are they a trusted source? Is it really them telling you to go buy something, or is it some AI system or some kind of fake video or some AI slop that's been produced to get you to buy something? If you look at some of the main speakers out there, the Tony Robbins, you got the Diary of a CEO Cat, you got these other people, Mo Godwat, there's a lot of people making fake videos with them starring in them, telling you to do something. We've all seen Will Smith eat spaghetti. I don't know if Will Smith even likes spaghetti, but it just went through, right? That video became viral back in 2022. If you look at the video, it looked horrible. Everybody can tell now. No, can't tell. It looks like Will Smith eating spaghetti or whatever he likes to eat. All right, moving through the Bible, what does it say about artificial intelligence? It doesn't directly mention artificial intelligence, as it was written long before the concept existed, but, you know, it is God, so he would know. However, biblical principles can be applied to AI, which include viewing creativity and intelligence as God-given gifts, recognizing humans as stewards of creation, emphasizing the importance of wisdom, discernment, and ethical use of technology, which also cautions against misusing technology or placing ultimate hope in human creators, and suggests AI can be used to serve others or to be a potential tool for both good and evil, depending on human intent. Good and evil, absolutely. Humans in control, at least to this particular juncture in life. The end of November, the machine isn't in control, it would seem, but they're building things that we're not privy to. But as it is, yeah, I think that if you were to have AI on its own, artificial superintelligence that's not aligned any particular way, I'm not sure if it would even care of our existence or even care to help or hurt. It probably would just overlook us. And maybe that's not a good place to be. But on the other end of it, we have the development of AI by human beings in the capitalistic world, and they're going to push forward to monetize it in every way they can. I think that most of them have an idea that it could go bad. It might not go exactly as they expect. Again, none of us can see what's actually going to happen when it gets there. That should make us all just a little bit nervous. You have people that were not elected that are controlling the mechanism of artificial intelligence. They're running with it, they're not slowing down, and they're moving forward because they want to make sure that no other country gets there before the United States. So they're still pushing forward. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Time will tell as it plays out. If you have any concerns, the regular political realm is probably your best friend. I would talk to somebody up that's in the elected official's office. Who can you talk to? Maybe start with city council and move on from there and start getting names and gathering data, giving information and telling them you're very concerned about this. Who do you talk to? Why aren't they concerned about it? And just continue that ball rolling forward. If they get enough people on the hook that really are caring about this, maybe things could potentially change, or at least change for the better. I'm not a nilly. I'm not about to say, well, we shouldn't do anything. But ultimately, I think there should be some kind of a control, if even that's possible, with a greater than us intelligence. What's the most common type of AI used today? We'll close with this one. This is narrow AI or weak AI. As I mentioned before, that artificial general intelligence, that's where AI is better than us in all realms, better than the smartest, most capable human being in every particular way that human beings function. That's where the general artificial intelligence is, and that's the drive. Currently, could we be super successful in the world with narrow artificial intelligence? Well, you take artificial intelligence, you train it all about everything we know about cancer, and say, figure it out. It goes out, it doesn't care about building bombs, it doesn't care about selling, the latest book on Amazon, it just cares about curing cancer. So that's what it does, and that's the mission. Cure the common cold. Again, you feed the machine with everything. Feed all the viruses into it. If we happen to have a virus in the future, how do you best protect us from that? And again, point the narrow AI at that. What about energy? How do we get unlimited energy at zero cost? Point that particular energy AI model at that. How do we solve starvation? How do we make the world safe for everybody? Start with the starvation, point the model at that. How do we re-engineer? How do we restructure? How do we reestablish the foothold with regard to food and agriculture? How do we feed the entire world so nobody starves? The best, most perfect food for each individual, this is how you do it. Medicine, general, conscious therapeutics, the counselor type method, psychologist, psychiatrist. Well, you build the AI model to be that best particular psychologist or psychiatrist for that particular person. They don't hold any agency. They don't do anything they're not supposed to. They don't fall in love with the client. They don't make the client fall in love with them, and they stay the way that a perfect psychologist would be able to stay. You take an educational AI system, you point it to the kids. You say, listen, you're going to teach these kids to be the best they can be in whatever realm that happens to be. Maybe it's general education where it seems like people thrive. Because when the danger of the general understanding is the most intelligent human beings that have general understanding across many different fields. They see something over in this field and they're able to connect it really quick. Say, well, this is a solution because this works in this realm, but nobody's ever even tried to apply it in this one, so let's use it and it works out. That's where the artificial general intelligence is going to be incredibly helpful or maybe incredibly dangerous. It knows about everything. So at the educational platform, you point that educational AI to the kid world and say, listen, we're going to start at 4 years old. And when it has a classroom, whether there are classrooms or not, I don't know if that's going to be a thing, but it's going to be able to look at every child. It's going to understand. Do they understand? Are they falling behind? Have they expressed some kind of visual cue that the AI will see as being somewhat confusing? And then it brings them out and it teaches them. You have these kids that play games for hours and hours and hours, but if you want the kid to take a test, they just run out of time. They run out of steam because the gratification for that moment isn't immediate? What if an educational AI system could be pointed to be able to teach the world's most complicated, wonderful, beautiful knowledge in some kind of a system like a gaming platform that would get these immediate results, get them whatever we needed as far as a dopamine reward, if that's what that particular thing was needed to keep the human being motivated, and kept them moving through. Just an entire realignment of the reward strategy when it comes to doing things in a video game, having that applied to an educational method. Oh my God, you can just see where this could go, and it would just be phenomenal. Solve world peace, solve war, if we could take all of the money that's being used for defense, don't shut me down, but if we could take that because there was nobody needing to fight anymore, we didn't have to fight with other countries, there was this almost a Star Trek universe put into place. What a crazy world that would be. It's going to take us a while if we do make it, and I hope that if you have a voice, you might talk to the powers that be in your world and maybe follow up and say, you know what, I was watching this bald cat talk a little bit about AI, a little concerned, maybe we should have a conversation, and you tell me what you think, and then if you're not aligned with me and you think that it's all, let's go green lights all ahead into some singularity with something that we have no idea what the outcome is going to be, just hoping that it's going to be okay, like they did when they blew up the first atomic bomb, hoping that it wasn't going to split atoms to infinity and blow up the entire known universe. Yeah, they gambled. Now they're just hoping that it's going to be okay. Maybe that's not the best place to be. All right, let me know what you think. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.